And Zeke, we are live. Welcome once again to the Winner Circle, the podcast covering Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, and other combat sports. I am one of your hosts, Eugene Plowden, and with me as always, my podcast partner, Isaiah Gathings. What's up, man?
What's going on, brother?
If this is your first time with us, I want you to know we are members of the Martial Arts InterNetwork. And on Mondays, you got the Winner Circle with myself, Isaiah Gathings, Chris Walker, and Angel Diaz. Tuesdays, the Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. Wednesdays, you can get the traditional way with Brett Shumway. And Thursdays, it's Fists, Kicks, and Flicks with Gene, Joe, and Angel. For more information, you can check us out on all of our social media platforms. Just look for the Martial Arts InterNetwork on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon. And don't forget about the main app, the Martial Arts InterNetwork app. Zeke, it's showtime. What's up, man?
What's up, man? How's everything going?
Man, everything's good, man. I got a relaxing weekend for a change. At least yesterday was pretty relaxing. So I'm looking forward to this holiday break. How about you, man?
Yeah, man. Same here. Living the dream, right? A relaxing weekend, just trying to get some stuff situated, and the end of the year and the beginning of next year is in sight. So you're just trying to figure out how you're gonna close things out and how you want to start that next year, but excuse to slow down and be able to spend time with family. Everybody kind of had to slow down around that time. Strong and get ready to start next year. I'll be stronger.
There you go. You know what's messed up, man? You and I were talking for almost like 30 minutes. No internet problems at all for about 30 minutes.
And then now all of a sudden,
yeah,
we have these private conversations before we go online. Number one, to test our equipment out. Mainly mine. I'm not sure what the deal is over here. But we chop it up about some stuff and we catch up and stuff like that. And things were fine. And then all of a sudden we got the glitches going on. But
it's all good, man. It's all good. And I see that both of us got on our Lions gear tonight. we pulled out a win. But you know what, man? I hate wins like that. Because they were playing the New York Giants, and the New York Giants aren't that good this year. I think their record was 2-9 when we played them. We started off. And that type of game, we should have jumped out to a big lead, and somewhere in the third quarter, we should have been able to rest our starters to avoid anybody getting injured, because they have a game on Thursday. Thanksgiving, the Lions always play. So they got another game, and it's against Green Bay. So we should have jumped out and punched them in the mouth and went into halftime, up 28-0, 28-3, something like that. And it's good they won, but they were supposed to win this game, but they shouldn't have won it like this. But if they lost, we still would have been mad. So there was only one type of way to win this type of game.
Yeah, it is definitely disappointing. I get your point. I was deciding between my Lions hat and Chiefs because I'm a fan. And they pulled it out. So it was definitely a day of overtimes, a day of exciting. Definitely disappointed, to your point, with the Lions particularly, because you have to win the ones you're supposed to win. They were supposed to win this one, but you also have to win them in a certain type of fashion, because now you lay out a blueprint. Like the Giants ain't doing that this year, but if they get exposed, the Lions or some of these other teams, people can look up and lay out a blueprint. That's competitors. As a competitor yourself, as a martial arts competitor, you guys know, whoever's watching, what I'm talking about. There are some matches you're supposed to easily win. But if you're struggling with some of these opponents, maybe this person wasn't even going to go to grand champion round to begin with. They're not about to do no damage, make no noise. But the people that's on the side that you have to go up against soon, they're looking like, okay, well, I didn't really know he was soft on the sidekick like that. I didn't know, that tail that he had with the blitz like that. The dude is exposing. Like, these are things that people pick up on, and you lay a blueprint out for other people to be successful, and it just kind of exposes you. And I think that to see them struggling like this, that's a very bad sign. It's also a bad sign because we understand they're going to amass some level of success, but it's looking like you're not going to go too far. If you're struggling like this, you know what I mean? And you got, who was that? Was it Jameson? Who was that put up over 240 some odd rushing yards? Which one was it? Was it Montgomery? One of them put up 240 or something like that. Something crazy.
You mean recently? Not today.
Today.
Or was it today? I didn't see the box score today.
Yeah, I forget,
Um,
because I was watching on Red Zone. So I mean, I was catching glimpses here and there. I obviously didn't see the whole game. I was watching on Red Zone.
mhm.
Watching a lot of the other teams that I put a fortune on. By a fortune I mean $5. I bet $5 on these games, and I scream at the television as if it's $500. If you saw me watch these games, you would swear up and down I got some money on them, and it's $5. Just so you know.
So you talking
So I
about
gotta
James
watch. I gotta
Winston?
follow my $5 all across. So I gotta watch Red Zone because I got $5 in 5 different places. So
You talking about Jameson Winston? Like he had
yeah, no,
366
no,
yards.
no,
Or you talking
no,
about
huh?
the Lions? You talking about the Lions?
Yeah, yeah.
Jameer Gibbs, he had 219 yards,
Okay,
and David Montgomery had 18 yards.
that's what I did. Okay, yeah.
He
So
must be
two nineteen.
injured or something. He must be injured or something. Because Demo has definitely not been playing like he has been last year, or he's just getting older. Yeah, so who knows? Man, yesterday, man, I went to jiu-jitsu, man, and it felt good to train and then come home and not have to do anything. I didn't have to go to the mall. I didn't have to do any shopping. I got to come home and just, sit in my office and just work on some stuff, man. And it just felt good after I got done with class, man. We had a good class. We worked on the Kimura and we worked on the leg hook takedown. So we had a good class. We had 2 different types of Kimuras, the rider variation and then the force variation we worked on. So that was pretty cool. And then just had the rest of the afternoon and evening just to come home and just mess with some stuff, man. And when you had your classes, let me ask you this. I don't know if we talked about this already, but is your classes broken down between by age or belt group?
What, like my karate classes?
It's funny you asked that because let's say karate.
Yeah, they're broken down by both. So it's age group, and then it's rank as well.
Now, what about jiu-jitsu?
In jiu-jitsu, no, it's not. It's just age group.
Yes, see, I've noticed that, and I'm comparing that to karate and wondering why we don't do the same thing with karate. Why is it broken down by belt group and not so much as age group? I was talking with my black belts. And I have some kids now that are already black belts, and the black belts train with my red belts because they help my red belts, prepare to become black belts, right? So I got a group of kids now that is preparing to test for their black belt next year. So the black belts are in this class helping. So, but after this group that I'm preparing now to test for their black belt, I got another group that's behind them that's going to be coming pretty soon, right? Now, these kids are younger. So I was wondering, I'm like, man, maybe I should keep all of my kids that's 9 through 13 together, regardless of belt group. Just if they're 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, just keep them all together. Keep the 6 to 8 year olds together also, regardless of belt groups. Because that's how I'm kind of seeing how jiu-jitsu classes are taking form now. What's the benefits? What's the pros and negatives of against doing that?
The answer your question is the forms, I believe. The forms is why. That would be why you'd have to break them up. And the complexity of the forms obviously make a difference, which you assume that when certain students get a certain age, they'll be, when students become a certain rank, they'll be around a certain age, which means their level of maturity would have grown. So they will be able to understand, appreciate the complexities of some of those more challenging forms. So you figure you're not going to have a 5-year-old red belt. So you don't have to worry about the form being too challenging, the red belt form being too challenging for them. They're probably going to be 8, 9, 10 years old around that time. I'm just throwing some things out. So you can kind of think about it from that perspective. I found that when you group them all together like that, it becomes a huge distraction. Number one, for the lower ranks, because they're looking at the higher ranks and then they want to do the spinning techniques that they're doing. They're trying to mimic those. They're trying to learn and look at the forms that the other ones are doing instead of focusing on their forms. So number one, it becomes a distraction for them. But I think the forms, because you can really take the time to be able to kind of focus on your energy. Like everybody that's in that particular class, in that advanced class, they're all learning advanced things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have an advanced level of understanding. They're of a more advanced age, and then it kind of makes sense. You know, and the beginners, you want them not to, you don't even want them to be exposed to intermediate level stuff or advanced stuff at all. You don't even want them to see it because they're going to want to try. They're going to want to try the jumping front snap kick with a fake, the flying side kick. No, I need you to work on this apchagi, this basic front kick. I need you to work on, you know what I'm saying, this haden my key, this low block, or whatever the case is. I don't need you even looking ahead. The exercises, you know what I mean? Like, if the parents at the white belt level saw how many exercises my red and brown belts do, they're like, my kid ain't gonna be able to do that kind of exercises. Is he crazy? Like, no, like, I don't like it's like, look, like, you don't even worry about that. Like, we're gonna gradually work your way up to that point. Kids breaking boards, they sprawling, and then again, as a beginner, like, you can scare the crap out of somebody, or they can be super excited and want to skip all the steps to be able to get to that point. So I think that by being able to just focus all of your attention on people who are suited for that particular group, whether it be age or rank wise, then it serves you better. In jiu-jitsu, I think the difference is that they don't classify things as advanced moves. So it's like, number one, it's like, yeah, I mean, this is a more advanced move. No, normally the leg locks are the only thing that they start to classify as more advanced, but everything else is pretty much for public consumption. You are encouraged, because it's not a striking art, to be able to work with different level and different weight people. So it's like, yeah, it's not uncommon that a white belt's going to be rolling with the purple belt or whatever the case is, because they're going to be able to get some experience. They're going to be able to, you know, they're going to have more questions. It's just, I think the nature of the activity is different, and the fact that the curriculums aren't laid out maybe in the Gracie system that it is that you train in, but for the most part, there's not laid out to where advanced move. It's like, these might be moves that you learn at this particular level, but it's nothing wrong with you going for this Kimura, you know what I mean? And it's just your second week here. It's really nothing wrong with you going for this particular. We want you to learn this guard pass first, but it's nothing wrong with you trying this. These things are a little bit more encouraged, you know, in the jiu-jitsu community versus the karate community, whereas you have to build the foundation first and just kind of build everything off of that. And it's just, the forms are a really big, you know, thing that is not in jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? It's not in Muay Thai. It's not in martial arts like that. I think that's a big reason why too.
And the same thing goes along with the one steps also. But at the same time, if you have a big enough space, and if you have assistant instructors, you can delegate responsibilities to have them take those other kids. And I'm not talking about white belts either. I'm talking about maybe purple belt. If a purple belt's in the same class as a blue belt, and you know, you will say like, Jason, take the purple belts and go over there and work with them on basic forms number 2.
That's another thing that I want to bring up too. Not cutting you, what I mean to cut you off, is that jiu-jitsu now is starting to have a boom where you're having this. But back in the day, I think that is a part of the reason that it's still that way, to be honest too, is just because of a very antiquated way it was initially built. Is that in the foundational standpoint, you didn't have a lot of purple belts. You didn't have enough purple belts back in your academy to be able to have its own class. It just didn't make sense. You had a lot of white belts. You had a decent amount of blue belts, because these were people that were just transitioning. But remember, back in the day, it was taking 3 years or better to get a blue belt. So these were people that you will see a lot of white belts and blue belts together. People didn't have a lot of purple belts. They definitely didn't have any brown belts. And then it was only 1 or 2 black belts. So these academies, they've matured, because those who sustained, you know, through that growth period, they have grown and matured to a level now to where they actually they've been open 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. So gradually they have people that are those ranks, and they have enough to be able to do it now. So I'm not saying it don't make sense. I think it was originally built this way because jiu-jitsu was a newer type of martial arts system that was introduced to America, and we were building our schools from the ground up, losing people in the process, you know, just doing what you had to do, but you didn't really have groups. Most academies did not have groups large enough, schools large enough to be able to break it up like that. They do now. So, I mean, it's something that should be explored, because now that they're getting more curriculum based, and they're actually really building out the program the way that they should, I think that it would benefit them to be able to kind of adopt the same type of ideology that traditional martial arts has.
It'd be interesting to see what happens in the next, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Because there are way more. I mean, there are way more people practicing jujitsu now, probably than ever that there
Yeah.
ever has been.
Yeah.
So
Adults, especially adults, aren't doing karate. You know what I mean?
no, no,
I was surprised. I have somebody signed up today to do a trial. But I believe it's a parent. We talked about that the other week. Only
yeah,
people that are signing up are parents of existing students. This is a parent, I believe, of one of our newer students who wants to train and then do their individual class. And then she wants her and her son to do a family class on the weekend together, so they have a shared activity they're able to do. But it's not just a regular person. It's just that I want to do karate.
Or kids who grew up in your activity,
That's right.
they're already red or black belts now anyway, and now they're
Right.
18 and they want to keep training.
Right.
So
Mhm.
other than that, man, like one guy did call me about classes maybe about 6 weeks ago, and he said he's 70. He said he's 70, right? And I said, okay, you know what? I think I want to put you in the boxing program. I think it might be better for you.
Okay, right.
Because, I mean, I'm not expecting too many 70-year-olds who haven't trained before to be doing any kicks. I think I think that the boxing curriculum might be a little bit more gentler.
But see that, but see
because
that,
he's not boxing. I'm talking. It's not boxing like we about to get in the ring and spar. It's the fundamentals. Learning how to punch, hitting the bag, hitting the mitts. It's just the fundamentals. It's not sparring at all. You know what I'm saying? It's not doing rounds.
But see, that's interesting. I've seen this as well. Now that you mentioned it, because I had somebody inquire about it not long ago. They said, "I'm too old for this, huh?" But knowing that the answer was no, and I talked to him and I, talked about the benefits, and things like that of the martial arts. But the thing is that I think that they are smart enough to be able to understand, and that speaks to how they view the martial arts. That it's a system that's a lot more gentle. It's a system that that you can do as you age. And they are aware of things like forms, and stretching. Those are the things they're thinking about. At that age, they're thinking about purposeful movement that's safe and that's non-combative. And karate seems like it fits into those categories for them. So I have seen, you're right, people that's 60 or 70 years old inquiring about it because they went to the doctor, their doctor's telling them you need to get into an activity with some type of movement, some yoga, something like that. And maybe a woman might, and I'm not saying that yoga is just for women. I'm saying,
man,
if somebody, if a lay person thinks about it, you know what I mean? A man might be like, well, I don't want to do no yoga. You know what I mean? Like, but maybe I could do. So it's just, I think it's just the way that they process it, because I can almost guarantee you every single time this happens, their doctor has told them, you need to be doing an activity that you can stretch, something that's going to be low impact, that is movement based and oriented. And then that's when they typically think about things like this. And that's why they inquire. The follow through isn't really huge. I'll get the inquiry, but the follow through isn't there, but they'll inquire about it just to kind of hear the inherited benefits that it offers. And then still end up doing something like yoga or, something low impact, or Tai Chi or something like that anyway.
Yoga is definitely low impact, but yoga is not easy, man.
Yoga's tough. Yoga's tough, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of strength. That is a lot of strength.
I got talked into doing this hot yoga with this. We had a bare knuckle boxer, female. She's a champion right now. Her name's Christine Fiera. She's the bare knuckle women's champion. She has been for some time now. But she invited. We were working with her. She was one of our fighters at one point. She said, "Coach, you should come down and try this hot yoga with me." And I was like, "All right, it's free. I need the stretch." And I had a shoulder injury, a really bad shoulder injury at the time, and I was battling with it. I'm like, man, I'll try anything, you know what I mean, that can help me get get over this. Man, I went, that thing, it was so hard, it's not even funny. Yeah, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing.
Especially when you're not flexible also.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not stiff, but I'm not that flexible.
Yeah, I've never been one of those flexible martial artists. Never.
Yeah.
So yeah, and when I remember when I used to work for Bally Total Fitness, I was a sales rep for them, and we had to take those classes because in order to sell it, we had to experience it. So man, that was those classes were not easy at all, man. Especially when you're not flexible. No.
Yeah.
So, but let's jump into it, man. So,
All right.
since we were talking
Let's
about
do it.
boxing, let's go to our first topic this week.
Oh yeah.
Are boxing and wrestling martial arts?
Yes.
So this is a controversial topic. I know it is. It's something else, man. Me personally, I don't consider them martial arts, and I think the only reason people are considering it martial arts now is because it's tied into MMA, mixed martial arts. To me, when I hear boxing is a sport. Punching is an activity that you do within self-defense, but just because you're punching does not mean you're boxing. In any time that there is a conflict between this person and this person, they might start off swinging. They're not punching the way that a boxer would be punching most of the time. And pretty soon they're going to get close and clinch. They're going to the ground almost every time where somebody bum rush somebody else. And then you start swinging and hitting each other on the back or on the back of their head. And then somebody goes down on the ground. I was trying to explain this to Chris and Jeff a few months ago, man, because I was like, because these activities, boxing was not designed to be a self-defense. It was designed to be a sport. Within boxing, when you say boxing, you're talking about rounds. You're talking about things you can and can't do. In a fight, in a self-defense situation, you're preparing for everything. Everything that you don't know could possibly happen to you. You're trying to prepare for it. There's all types of things. There are no rules when it comes to defending and protecting yourself. And boxing, there are definitely rules within boxing. There are definitely rules within wrestling. Now, these two activities, you can take them and place them inside of any type of martial art to help improve that martial art skill, whether it's I don't know, taekwondo. If you want to add boxing and wrestling to it, cool. It's just gonna make your taekwondo better. Anything, aikido, karate, whatever. It would just enhance that original traditional martial arts. And that's what I was trying to get to it. They made some good points, but I'm like, the points you guys are making, you can apply that to anything. So now am I going to say that weightlifting, if I'm a bodybuilder, I'm protecting my body as a bodybuilder, so should bodybuilding now be considered a martial art? Should football be considered a martial art? Because you got tackling in football, you got grabbing in football. I was being an asshole, and I know I was being an asshole. But still, I'm just using, those same. I'm just using their same defenses as far as why boxing and wrestling are martial arts against them. So, what do you think, man?
So I hope that whoever was watching last week, or word spread, I said I want the smoke. Come on in, leave comments, whatever.
Right now, nobody's saying nothing right now, man.
I hope that's all right, because if they'll catch the live show, they'll catch the replay, right? So they'll catch it at some point. I'll share it if I have to. I'll take the clips, clip it up. You know what I mean? Chop it up, clip it up, and share it. I'm gonna start something. Because a lot of people, I'm tired of hearing this, and I have for some time, and it irks me when I hear it. Okay, number one, let me give the definitive answer. Right off the bat, they definitely are not martial arts. They are not martial arts. Boxing's boxing, and wrestling's wrestling. And you actually pointed out a really good point that I hadn't considered, which I'll touch on in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Again, breaking down what the martial arts means. We know what an art is, and the martial means war. So this is the art of war is what you're learning, and what you're working on and you're learning is the art of war. It is not a martial art. Boxing is a sport. If you ask a boxer,
mm-hmm.
What boxing is or about boxing, they're going to tell you it's a sport. The people who train boxing, the only people who are saying boxing is a martial art is martial artists. Surprisingly enough, we're the only ones saying this foolishness.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any sense. The boxers will tell you it's a sport. It's the sport. It's the sport of sweet science. It's a sweet science. They refer to it as a science or a sport. I know that people want to say originally, was bare knuckle, and then they made it a sport by being able to put the Queensberry rules or whatever by having to put gloves on, and before there was unlimited rounds and all that type of stuff. So yeah, they made it more humane, and they actually made it a much more spectator friendly sport to watch. But the intent of it always was to be able to be a sport, right? The martial arts was designed for war, for killing, and to defend yourself in war times. When villages, and countries were being invaded and occupied, they were taking these techniques and creating these things to safeguard their life. This was very important. It's important to understand. Boxing doesn't teach you how to use weapons, right? Martial arts does. When you learn martial arts, you're going to learn at least one weapon, right? If you learn traditional martial arts, at least, right? So you're learning not only how to use your entire body to be a weapon with the intent to maim or kill. That is what the intent is. Now, we don't talk about this because you're not going to have a 5-year-old group or Little Dragons group with 3 and 4-year-olds, and you're like, all right, so just so you guys know, Timmy, Johnny, these moves, we're teaching you how to kill somebody. So when you go to school, don't kill anybody. Like, this is not a popular thing that you say to any age group, but let alone kids, which populate most martial arts schools. But the truth of the matter is that this is something that you're learning to use in the event that somebody tries to harm your life. When you go to boxing, that's not what the intent is. You're doing for fitness, for recreation, for fun, or for competition. So you're learning these moves that are being tailored or tapered or in some type of way to be able to protect or safeguard your life. The type of techniques that you're learning, gouging the eyes, chopping to the throat with the pseudo, kicking in the groin, throwing people, breaking arms, things like joint manipulation. These are things that are used in real war situations, right? The art of war. All of these things is important. One thing that you articulated, you pointed out, which I thought was interesting, is that even when people talk about boxing, which let me back up real quick and say this, here's where the confusion is coming from. And I know people who are listening and disagreeing with me, they're thinking this. If somebody attacked me, I can use boxing to defend myself. Being able to defend yourself with something doesn't make it a martial art. Right? You absolutely could defend yourself using boxing, 100%. You don't have to throw a kick. You can take boxing classes. Somebody can accost you, and you can actually safeguard yourself. That's just defending yourself. That doesn't make it a martial art just because you were able to effectively use them to defend yourself. So that goes back to your point about the bodybuilding or about I took baseball, so I carry a baseball bat around with me, and I'm swinging baseball bats at people who are trying to attack me. That doesn't make it a martial art because I'm using it to be able to swing to defend myself. So your point that you brought up is that even people want to use the argument talking about, when you're boxing, boxing is a martial art. I can defend my life with it. You're right. If you've ever watched a fight before, it might start off in a classical type of situation where hands are up and people are circling each other. But after 1 or 2 punches are thrown, you're right. It's not going to look like that boxing thing that you saw Devin Haney do this past weekend. It's not going to look like that because another boxer is not going to sit there and box. 2 boxers aren't going to go outside and box each other in a real fight. They box in the ring. It's going to get nasty. It's going to get ugly. They're going to be grabbing, hair gnashing, pulling, throwing, and people are going to be hammer fisting and hit to the back. Everything that you said is right. So is this still considered boxing when you're not slipping the jab anymore and when you're not jab, cross, hook, uppercut? No, it's not boxing anymore. It's just fighting. You're just fighting. You're fighting for survival, right? So when we talk about boxing, the boxing is going to be out the window very early on in the fight, right? Most likely. So I just thought that was an interesting point I wanted to touch
on. Just because you're punching don't mean you boxing.
No,
that's all I'm saying. Just because you're punching don't mean you boxing.
But it's not a martial art. You don't use your entire body to defend yourself with. It was never created as a martial art or referred to ever as a martial art, but always a sport. There's no weapons training, or what's most important is there's no weapon defense being taught as well. Knowing that, again, in a martial art, in an art of war, in a life situation, you're learning in martial arts if somebody tries to accost you with a knife, how to disarm them. Whether it's effective or not, you're still learning this. If somebody accosts you with the gun, what you're supposed to do. Somebody sitting down talking to you about principles, because what you're learning is so lethal that it can take a life, and it's intended to. So this is the reason why we have student pledges, student creeds that you say at the beginning of the class to announce out loud, I'm not going to misuse or misrepresent my martial art because I understand how impactful this could be. If I fool around with it, I could take a life, right? Point fighting as we know it today, right? The reason that there was points involved and we stop it is because points were awarded for you being able to exercise control. Because supposedly, if you would have landed this technique, you could have maimed the person, you could have broken something, you could have paralyzed them, or you could have killed them. These things don't exist in boxing. In boxing, nobody's telling you when not to box, right? Okay, everybody at the beginning of class, let's hear the student creed of how we're not going to misuse our boxing. When you box with somebody, you absolutely try to hit the person as hard as you can, right? You know, there's no pulling punches or points awarded for restraint. There's no code of conduct, no code of ethics. You're not learning how to defend against any weapons. Nobody's teaching you in martial arts. You're learning if you're being accosted by multiple people, how to fight and defend against multiple people. You're not learning that in boxing. That's always been a one-on-one activity. Everything about that sport versus what traditional martial arts is different, which shows you that it is not cut out or intended for it to be referenced as a martial art. You can use it to defend yourself with, but it does not have any of the components as a part of it that would qualify to make it a martial art. Wrestling, that's an easy one. No, there's no strikes in it. How could it be a martial art? How could it be an art of war? How could that didn't even be that we shouldn't even be talking? That's just stupid. That doesn't make any sense. Well, it's been around the longest. It's been around for, yes, it has been around far longer than any of these other. Is it combative? Yes, it's a combative sport. Is it effective? I love wrestling. Interesting enough, more wrestling stuff pop up because I liked one thing, and now all of this stuff from wrestling pop up, and I love all of it. You know what I mean? I love it. Is it effective? It definitely is. It dictates where the fight will take place. If you have good wrestling defense, you can keep the fight on the feet if that's what you want to do. If you want the fight on the ground, you can take it down. But the minute you start punching, it's no longer wrestling. Now you're just fighting. There's only wrestling when you are wrestling back and forth with somebody to be able to dictate where this fight transpires or takes place, right? Again, to your point, which I think you're right and you articulate this well, I think that people are mixing up the fact that because it's a part of MMA, which people don't even look at it as mixed martial arts anymore. They just call it MMA. They've taken the dots out, so it's no longer even an acronym anymore. MMA is just synonymous with cage fighting because the wrestlers are successful. They're the belt holders. They're the ones that win. If I see a wrestler versus striker on UFC, I don't even have to know the two people. I'm betting on a wrestler every single time, 100%. Like which one wrestling? I look at the highlights. Whoever wrestling, that's where my money going on. The other guy not wrestling, I'm not betting on him. Wrestling is just that effective. But because it's being used to win MMA fights, it doesn't make it a martial art. Because boxing's being used, it doesn't make it a martial art. A martial art is something that is ready, intended for war, to kill, the art of war, and every element of it is teaching you and preparing you how to take a life, how to safeguard a life, and everything, your life and your families, and everything that's built into it. Is organically built into it for that reason. You're being told that you have to make promises in your student creed. Everything about the martial arts, the way that your instructors are speaking with you, and the tenets and everything about it is the art of war and the art of restraint. These other things are sports at best.
Yeah, you summed that up, man. I think I need to chop this up and just leave it in my phone. And anytime somebody tries to have this debate with me going forward in the future, I'm just going to just slide that to them these last 15 minutes. Like, just take a look at this and let me know what you think. Like, this is what I think about it now. So
yeah, you can defend yourself with it. You absolutely can defend yourself with it. Yes, there are effective tools that, even though they're sports, you can use them to defend yourself with, just like you said. But that goes for a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I can use to defend myself with. Does not make it a martial art. You have to understand what the martial arts was intended for, what it was created for, and all of the different things and components that you learn in it that prepares you for any situation, right? But it's always life or death, which is what the original intent was supposed to be about. We don't talk about that as instructors. That ain't popular. You're not filling your academy up talking to suburban moms in their 30s and 40s who have 5 and 7-year-old kids about the importance of life and death situations. So I think that sometimes we get away from this in our mind too, because it's not something that we expound on, especially as martial arts and business owners. That's not a good selling point to sell a program. Come here, we'll make sure you don't die. You know what I mean? Like somebody like this, I'm just trying to do something fun. I wasn't thinking about no death, but no, it's the truth. That's what it's intended for. That's what you're thinking in your mind. If somebody accosts you right now, you ain't think about nobody trying to box you. You like, man, this dude trying to kill me. He trying to rob me. He trying to take my life. I got a wife. I get home to my family. I got kids. No, You know, I'm about to take this dude out, and I ain't about to box him to do it. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna wrestle him. I might.
Why would I limit myself? Like you're just like I'm just waiting on one punch, and I think this is just to lay him out. No, I'm gonna use all my tools. I'm gonna elbow. I'm a, if I get the opportunity to chop to the neck, I'm gonna take it if it's there. You know, whatever I got to do to restrain this person before I take it to another level. I'm gonna do.
Kick, bite,
headbutt to the nose, whatever I have to do.
All martial arts.
Yeah,
not in boxing. Not in wrestling.
So like I tell my parents when they bring their kids, on the first day I tell them, like, I want to make sure that your child is a well-rounded martial arts. So even though I might not consider the sport of boxing a martial art, but I do see benefits in doing it. Definitely, there's benefits in getting nice with your hands. I can't teach it, but I hired somebody because I understand the importance of being nice with your hands, because you never know. Once again, you never know what a child or what a person is going to encounter. So you got to make sure that they're prepared at all costs. You know, if your people know you nice with your hands and you can punch, a smart person is not going to want to stand up and trade punches with you. They're going to probably try and take you down. They're going to probably try and get you down on the ground. So you better know what's going to happen once you get down on the ground. You got to know how to get back up. You got to know how to defend yourself on the ground. You know, you might have to go for a triangle. You might have to go for an arm bar. You might have to do whatever. You know, guillotine. The opportunity is there to grab somebody to guillotine, get the guillotine. You know, whatever. So it's all about being well-rounded. You know, but the people like when I heard Michael Jai talk about the best self-defense, he said boxing, but you only got one shot to hit this person.
But see, that's interesting that you just said that too. And that's another thing. And I think this is where this thing's getting kind of convoluted as well. This is very interesting because we both said this, but I don't think that we realized that separation is really interesting. You say he said what the best self-defense was. Now, if that's what he said, then, I'm not changing my perspective, or I'm not saying he's right or he's wrong. Again, the ability to use something to defend yourself doesn't make it a martial art. So he said, if he says self-defense,
the guy Vlad asked him. No, these are two separate topics. Vlad asked him on the conversation that he was having. Vlad asked him, "What is the best martial art for self-defense? If you have a conflict, the best self-defense for a street confrontation." And he said boxing, and second would be wrestling. And he definitely said that. He's like, I'm not going to say karate. That's what he said. That was his response to it.
Okay.
And my thing is, if you're picking boxing, so this person, you're not going to do anything else. You're not going to throw an elbow. You're not going to throw a knee. You have to strictly just stand there and punch. Now, you got to make sure that they're close enough in order to hit you. If they're too far away, you can't hit them. You got to get close. And if they too close to your body, then that's going to take away your punching power. So you got to anticipate the fight is only going to stand. It's going to stay so far away from each other in order to be effective. And you can't do that when it comes to a fight. For a ring, if you're in a ring, you can do that, but not when it's too many variables at the club. There's too many variables standing outside of a gas station. It's too much stuff can happen.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is phrased in a very interesting way. I'll say something about that in a second. But no, limiting yourself and then assuming that the conditions of a fight situation are going to favor a particular art form like that makes no sense at all. Somebody can grab you from behind. Somebody can pin you up against the wall, and like you said, they're going to be too close for you to be able to effectively land those type of punches that you want. Not saying there isn't any close range boxing punches. Somebody grabs you from behind. Like, there's a lot of other variables. Somebody's a little bit further away from you. I've always taught my students that in order to be successful, you need to be able to do the opposite of what the other person wants to do. chances are I'm not assuming that this person is going to be leading off with a roundhouse kick or a side kick. They're going to be trying to punch me, which means that if they punch, it's the best defense is to kick. If the person is kicking, the best defense is to punch. Person throws a punch, kicking me, I'm going to try to punch over him. I'm not going to kick with him. Person tries to punch me. If I can kick them, my legs are longer than their arms. But I have those options when I'm using martial arts versus boxing, which takes away all of those other things, and you have to play the same game that the other person's playing. I just have to hope I'm better at playing it, or I land first, or I get there first, or all the conditions are perfectly suited. He's thinking that these two gentlemen that's agreed to go outside and said, let's step outside the bar. We're going to settle this right now. And they went out to defend themselves. That's assuming that you understand the situation and the environment the situation is going to be in. Martial arts accounts for every single thing. You know what I mean? So traditional martial art, it accounts for everything. Now, again, I understand the scope, the lens that he's viewing this in. He's thinking about the traditional karate guys are going to get out there and do this kind of stuff, but that ain't how everybody use their martial arts. So for you to sit there and just say it's definitely not this, that makes no sense at all. You know what I mean? Now, again, to the point about how the question was phrased, if he brought up self-defense, you can use these as arguments of self-defense. That's not calling them a martial arts. That just meaning that you're using something as effective as boxing or wrestling to defend yourself. But that doesn't make it a martial art, period. A martial art is something that is war-oriented, that's meant to destroy, kill, or protect and safeguard your life. And it's going to have, you got to use your entire body. You got to be learning how to use weapons, learning how to defend against weapons, and all type of other variables of conditioning and building your mind, your body, everything else up. In preparation for that, those are the key elements that makes these things a martial art. But if he said for self-defense, that's his opinion. He's got 8 black belts. Who am I to sit there and say anything against him? But I can't believe he believes that. I just think that he maybe how he has it framed in his mind is the reason why he responded that way, thinking that this is a mutual fight, a situation where people are going out and they're going to be using this. But in a real situation that occurs at lightning speed, at morphin speed, where there's things you can't account for, I wouldn't sit there and use something as limiting as boxing or wrestling to be the forerunners of the things that I would use as effective martial arts systems. I'm not saying that they're not effective. Self-defense systems. I'm not saying they're not effective. I'm just saying it's surprising to hear a man of his caliber be able to say something like that, who has trained in so many different martial arts systems. That is interesting to me for sure.
Would you be worried if, let's say that there's a boxer that's around your age, your height, he's like Mike Tyson, and he's trying to rob you? He's a boxer. He's trying to rob you. What is it that he wants to do? He's going to punch you.
Mm-hmm.
What are you planning to do to him?
I'm taking him down.
There's a lot of stuff you can do.
I'm taking him down. I'm taking him down. None of those things have the kicking has nothing to do with boxing. The takedown is only because I know that when he gets to the ground, so I'll use wrestling to be able to get him to the ground, and then once he's on the ground, then I'm going to use all of my martial arts to be able to finish the situation, to subdue him, to be able to to get him out of there.
There's a lot you can do. Like you can kick him in the knee. You could do a takedown. You can go for a knee bar on the ground, a toe hold on the ground, and he got shoes on at that point. Also, leg is done. You can go for a choke. You can be real close. I mean, there's a lot of different things. That person only wants to punch you, and you have so many different weapons that you can pull out and use against them. So anyway. All right, let's move on to our next topic.
People understand that nobody's dissing while we close this out. Nobody's dissing these other things. You have to learn how to box before you get your black belt, because Muay Thai is a part of our system. So once you get your blue belt, we start working on that, which means we have to work on your boxing. So you work on your boxing components. You work on all those type of things. We have a lot of jiu-jitsu based self-defense moves in our system, which means you have to learn how to fall and you have to learn takedowns. So wrestling is a very important part, and everybody at some point in my system does jiu-jitsu at some point anyway. So you're going to learn wrestling. I have a former student of mine who's a wrestling coach, in Centerline. He comes down. He was one of our MMA champions and teaches wrestling. And I have a guy that was just a wrestling coach that was one of my jiu-jitsu classmates. He's come down. He teaches wrestling. So I have wrestling coaches that come down. You have to learn how to wrestle. You have to learn how to box as a part of it, because they are effective systems. They are very effective, and they help you to be able to safeguard yourself. But that doesn't mean because of that it makes them a martial arts, because they're not. They don't have the components in there that qualifies to make it a martial art. So,
all right. Well, since we're talking about boxing, let's keep it going. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. Is this a fight that you were expecting? Is this a fight you're looking forward to watching? Is this a good fight for Jake Paul? What do you think?
I don't think the fight's going to happen.
Wow, really?
When's it supposed to happen again?
I think it's supposed to happen next month. I think December 19th is when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's December something. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that they have to throw another big name out because they promised another big name opponent before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
After that Tank fight fell through. So I think that they needed something to be able to do all those people that were super excited, to see that fight and that were disappointed. And before they start, canceling Netflix subscriptions and things like that, they needed to dangle something like, wait a minute, don't go nowhere. We got something for you. These guys are going to do it. They're going to do it. They'll do it. This is a bigger name. So they need something to dangle because the holidays are coming up, you know what I mean? And they don't want to see a dip in sales, right? And memberships and subscriptions. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that something's going to happen beforehand, that there's going to cancel the fight. But they needed to get it on paper. They needed to be able to keep us salivating and excited, but I don't think it's going to happen. Is it good for Jake Paul if it happens? Well, let me ask you a question first, because we talked about this briefly. We started talking about it. I said, let's save it for on the air. Who do you think? I'm sorry, let me back up. Do you think that Jake Paul has a chance of beating Anthony Joshua? Do you think he will win, or how do you think that fight will transpire or if it takes place?
So I don't really follow boxing like that. So let me just start off with that. But Anthony Joshua is a true boxer. And I don't see how Jake Paul can be a true boxer. And he's a former champion. Former two-time champion, right? I believe so. I don't see how he can win at all. Now I know that some people might say that that because Joshua lost a couple fights, right? But he lost a couple of fights to real boxers. He didn't lose fights to anyone who pretty much does glorified sparring matches.
Okay.
And that's what pretty much Jake Paul has made a living off of recently. Now I saw Tyrone Woodley say that he thinks that Jake Paul possibly could win, and he's using his own experience. But I'm thinking, but you dude, like, you're not a true boxer. You're a wrestler. You're an MMA fighter. And just because you've boxed, in preparation for a fight doesn't mean you weren't doing it. Man, I'm not going to take that away from anybody that's been doing this activity since they were 6, 7, 8 years old and did the Golden Gloves and then did Olympic trials and all that. I'm not just going to take all that. That's experience that they have built up over time. So when they're in their early 20s, they have that experience. They know how to fight. They know how to box. And they can see things and they know things. They have certain instincts that you don't have just because you've been boxing for 5 years. That's an insult. For real. That really is an insult. So I really can't see Jake Paul winning this fight. Now you're gonna give your response, but I got another question for you right after that.
Okay. So while you were talking, I looked up their heights. It says that Jake Paul is 6'1" and Anthony Joshua is 6'6". Now, this was something I did not know ahead of time. I did not know this. My initial response is that I think that Jake Paul probably could win. Before I looked this up. And now that I've looked this up, I think that it's an excellent fight for Jake Paul, and I think that he'll definitely win. And I think he'll win by knockout if he wins. And I'll explain why. And I know people are probably shocked because you're like, wait a minute, you just said that Jake Paul was shorter than Anthony Joshua, by 5 inches. He's 6'1" and Joshua's 6'6". So again, I've trained boxers, I've coached boxers, a few of them, you know what I mean, but mainly MMA people. But boxing's a
But
component or something you learn in MMA.
but doesn't Joshua have to cut to make the weight for this fight also? Like he's bigger than him also.
Yeah, he's bigger than him. Yeah, there has to be some cutting involved and stuff too. Paul will probably put on some muscle for the fight. But if you are a coach or a competitor, you know, in combat sports, of kickboxing, MMA, or boxing, one thing that you will know is that what I'm getting ready to say will probably resonate a little bit better with you. First of all, Anthony Joshua's chinny. Okay, now what I mean by chinny, it means that boy, he don't eat them punches very well. Okay, he doesn't eat them punches really well. He gets rattled. You know what I mean? He'll get dropped. You know what I'm saying, from like an overhand. And the perfect type of situation where a person can land the overhand is a shorter fighter against a taller fighter, because that chin is going to be easier to find because I'm lower than you, my center of gravity. And if he throws an overhand, which Paul has a decent overhand, and he's punching upward, the odds of him being able to catch that chin of somebody that's chinny, that's took a couple big hits, that's been dropped, knocked down a few times, right? That when that starts to happen to you, it happens more frequently. That's where we call chinny, is that the minute you get knocked out, dropped, or something like that by getting hit right there on the button on the chin, it starts to, it's like it never resets. It's like you're susceptible to it happening more frequently, which is why you start seeing those boxers that get dropped or knocked down or KO. They tend to decline at an exponential rate because now they're susceptible to it. Freddie Roach said he boxed, and he had boxed, and I think he got to close to like 40-0. He thought he was invincible. He lost one fight. He got dropped. I think he got knocked out one fight. He said he retired. He's like, and that was his swan song. He said, "No, I'm not getting back out there again." You know, and I thought I was invincible because he knew that now that this has happened to him, that level of invincibility in his mind is gone, but also his chin is susceptible to get caught again. That glass jaw, that chin, you know, you're able to get dropped and knocked out more. This happens, and it's tailor made for a shorter fighter against a taller one. And I've had guys that were shorter that we game plan this in MMA fights, and we knock those bigger guys out almost every single time. The taller guy has to punch down. That means that his punches are not going to have the same level of power on it because the trajectory has changed, you know, and it's not going to be as effective as somebody that can work the body and work on being able to punch up. If you looked at the European fighters, if you look at their style, their footwork, the way they move, a Tyson Fury, a lot of these guys like Joshua, and too many to name, you know, and there's been a lot of guys, Carl Froch, things like that, you know, over the years. Listen, they are good fighters. The UK has good fighters, but the level of movement, the way that they move, the way that they use their boxing is not like the people over here in the States. You know, people are assuming that he'll be able to work behind that jab and set something big up. But again, if Paul's shorter than him, he's going to be trying to punch down with that punch. Paul's going to be, if he gets his Mike Tyson on and he's bobbing and weaving that head and he's working the body and he goes up top and he punches on top, he's going to land the more effective shots, you know, more frequently, right? As long as he can figure out, you know, the reach disparity. And I'm not really sure what the reach disparity is. Just because somebody's taller doesn't mean that the reach disparity is always significant, because some people got long monkey arms, and it's like it's not, it will be a reach advantage, I'm sure, for Joshua, but it may not be that vast. But I agree with everything you said. Yes, he does have the boxing experience that he's done, you know, for the better part of his life. And he has lost to, you know, actual seasoned trained champions and things like that. But some of those losses were not great. You know what I mean? And again, think about it like an energy bar that starts to chip away. So each time, even when you reset it to 100%, it's not, the bar isn't as full as it once was. Like it goes from here to here to here. So even when it's fully loaded, it's still never going to be back here again, right? It just chips down each time that you start getting hit on that chin, you start getting, you know, knocked down and things like that. I think that with the power, with this frame, with the way that he moves, I don't like Paul's legs. I think he needs to be stronger on his legs, his movement and his legs. His footwork isn't great. You know what I mean? It really isn't. And he's boxing more. He's training more. He's fighting stiffer challenges. So I'm sure this is something that somebody is going to be able to pick up on. I actually know his boxing coach, right? He was worked with Dewey for a while, and I know BJ, if he's still working with him. So I've seen him, work out with trained people before, and they've called over for some of our guys to go over there and try to sprawl them when he was first starting his boxing career, when he had those first series of fights and things like that. So I am familiar with them. I know that he has the IQ to be able to help him in those areas. He'll pick up on that and help him with that footwork and stuff like that. If he can get his feet together, because his feet is not clean. They don't move well. His movement, you know what I'm saying? It looks amateur, right? The boxing, everything from the waist up is how he's winning, but the footwork itself is very remedial. So if he's able to fix that and going into this fight, and then they game plan on really being able to set up that overhand, I think that he'll not only win, but he can stop him. Joshua, if he doesn't tuck that chin and if he doesn't really use that reach well and use that jab, he's going to have a tough night. And it's funny with me saying this because I've never said that any one of the people in the past that I thought Paul would fight, that he even had a chance of winning. I thought he would lose all of those and be stopped in all those fights. This is the only one. And, Joshua was a seasoned, respectable boxer, but this is the only one that I think that he can win if it happens.
I'm very, very surprised to hear you say that. So I had to write down a couple things because as you're talking, I'm getting all of these ideas in my head. So let me ask you this then. So after this fight, whether Jake Paul wins or loses, where do you think he goes from here? If he wins, he can't go back to fighting UFC wrestlers or Bellator wrestlers that that now want to box and get some money. Like that can't happen, right? He can't go down. He has to keep fighting true boxers if he wins this fight, right?
I think that they're the marketing experts at this point and geniuses. I think that they can spin it however they want moving forward, because I think that just by beating somebody this legitimate, like the Tyson thing, people can't believe he won that one, but people can attribute it to his age.
Right.
People still think that, he took a fall and things like that. I mean, there's still some controversy, surrounding that. But I think this will really take away a lot of the excuses and doubt that people have, so he can actually say, hey, listen, I beat somebody that, is a champion, somebody that is respectable, somebody that's a household name. So we don't have to talk about that anymore. So he if he wanted to fight somebody else, a UFC guy, YouTuber, he can bill it like I don't have nothing to prove because I beat Joshua. So y'all can't question that. I understand your question on your point. If he's looking to be able to actually develop a real boxing career and not just what it is that he's doing now, just making big name money fights. If he wants to contend for a title, he would then have to continue to fight just actual boxers. That way he can get that ranking that he needs. He can actually start to actually build himself out as a person that's trying to contend for a championship. If that's not what his interest is, he can use this to kind of quiet the noise, use this as a feather in his cap, something that he can put at the top of his resume, and say, hey, listen, don't play with me. You guys know what I do to actual boxers. Remember what I did to your boy Joshua. Now, back to regular schedule programming. Let me go ahead and make this money. Let me set up this fight with whomever. I think that they are smart enough to where they can market it and play it either way. It just depends on what his particular thought process is after this fight, where his interest lies.
Okay. Now I get that. That makes sense. You're giving him credit as to being able to possibly knock Joshua out. But we haven't seen Paul have any power. We haven't seen him knock out anybody that's his size. Like I'm not giving him credit for knocking out Nate Robinson or Tyron Woodley or those smaller guys who are not boxers. I'm not giving them any credit for that. So we don't know if he has that type of punching power, do we?
Well, let me back up a little bit. I'm not going to backtrack because I still stay behind what I'm saying, but I think that he'll drop him for sure. Now, maybe knockout is a little bit, maybe that's a little bit, taking a little bit too extreme, maybe. But the only reason that I can use that and I can see it being a possibility is because I've seen Joshua get hit, and I just don't like the way he responds to getting hit big. Mm-hmm. I don't. Like some of them losses were not good looking losses. So that it doesn't. So to your point, it doesn't speak about my belief in Paul's power more than it does my disbelief in Joshua being able to take something square on the chin. Mm-hmm. I think he'll get wobbled or dropped. And then if he makes his way back up again, you know what I mean, and he keeps with that level of aggression or game plan, he'll probably drop him again or stop him at some point. You know, and again, I've never said this about him because I've always thought he was going to lose the previous fights against boxers, not YouTube people or MMA people, but boxers that he's had in the past. I've never thought he would beat any of those people. But for me to say that I think that he has a chance of winning this one, it speaks volumes to how little faith that I have. And by the way, I was a huge Anthony Joshua fan. I was a huge Anthony Joshua fan. You know what I mean? I know it doesn't sound like it. I know it doesn't, but I'm just being real. Being a using the eye test, being somebody that's trained fighters, you know, as well. Whether it be boxing or MMA or things like that, or kickboxers. I understand what happens to the mind. I understand what happens to the body. And you know that fight's gonna probably take place in his hometown because they don't never travel over here. So he's going to be over in the UK somewhere. So he's going to have an immense amount of pressure. Yeah, okay, you got hometown, you know, crowd advantage, stuff like that. For some people, they take that well. For some people, they don't. Because in every respect, he's supposed to be able to win. So everything for him's on the line. Jake's performing well because he's got nothing on the line. Yeah. Nobody ever thinks he's going to win. Period. So this man is in his hometown. They sell out arenas like nobody's business for Anthony Joshua for boxing over the UK. Them arenas, the stuff that we got over here is kids play compared to how many people that they pack in those arenas, you know what I mean, over there. And, you know, when they come out grand. They come out in cars and all type of stuff for they walk. They got all this pageantry behind them. For him to be in his hometown with all of those fans that's going to be there that, you know what I'm saying, was a champion, right, and have a name like he has, and he's getting ready to fight this boy that people like, don't lose to this boy. Don't you lose to this boy.
He got boxing on his back.
Yeah, he got boxing on his back. He got boxing on his back.
Yeah.
I don't, everybody doesn't process that kind of, that stuff the same way.
That's pressure.
And it's a lot of pressure. I think that it's a great position for Jake Paul to be in. I think it's a great position. You know, even a Tank fight, people like, look at the size difference. Look at great.
So what does Jake Paul do if he loses though? Like he can't because that messes up everything. Because then he can't go back. He has to fight another boxer after this. If he loses, he has to fight another boxer because then the knock on him is going to be, well, all you can beat is people who aren't boxers.
How many boxing fights did Conor McGregor win?
I think he just had the one against Floyd.
And after it was over with, he was the big money fight. He lost that fight, and everybody called him out. And in order to fight him, you talking about, you know what I'm saying, $100 million and more and up. He lost.
Mm-hmm.
So it did nothing for him. His platform elevated. Mm-hmm. You stood in there with Floyd. You know what I mean?
But then he came back and fought Khabib after that, right? And just got destroyed. Like that was it for him. Like I don't even know why he's trying to come back now. Like him and Ronda should just stay retired. Like I wouldn't get back. It's been too long now. I don't think they can do it anymore. And you don't really want to tarnish your legacy just having loss after loss after loss, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's people out here still think they're kind of undefeated, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I don't think to answer your question, you know, it depends on what his aspirations are. If he wants to be a champion, I think that the outcome of this fight would define his aspirations. Put it that way.
Because if he loses to Joshua, this will be his second loss to true boxers.
If he wins this fight, if he
loses
this fight, he'll want to contend for a championship because he'll believe that he can, and the world will believe he can. If he loses this fight, he would just want to probably go back to fighting whomever for the money fights.
If he loses this fight, I would say join WWE with your brother. They can make some big money in WWE together as a tag team. I think that'll be the best. That would be the smartest thing to do, I would think. Because like you don't want to have the knock of you're just beating up MMA guys and former wrestlers and stuff like. You don't want that. You know, you're gonna want to have some type of respect as far as being a competitor and a fighter. So let's move on, man. Last thing, professor's perspective. Here we go. Move of the week.
All right, so I was doing a seminar some time ago, and this was a young man that asked the question about a guard passing, particularly if someone is scissoring or squeezing the legs together while you're in the guard. That can be really uncomfortable if you go with somebody that has those wiry legs, and this typically happens with the beginners, right? They're trying to crush your ribs, so they're squeezing their legs around you while they have their guard closed. So you'll see the expression on my face. He's just kind of squeezing and he's asking, what do you do if somebody's squeezing like that? And I talked to him just basically making sure that you're in the proper position when you're passing the guard to begin with. That'll help alleviate some of that pressure and combat against that. So I was leaning forward. He was able to squeeze my ribs. It was really uncomfortable because he has small, wiry legs, right? I got huge, thick legs. I can do it, but it probably won't have the same type of effect. Right. And then we know that more experienced people, you're not going to submit anybody from that. You're just going to make them miserable for a little bit and piss them off. But you see this a lot at the beginner level. Just basically making sure I got my posture first. I was leaning forward initially. So I needed to make sure that my posture was there first, that my posture was together. So I don't know if you can play it back. So I grabbed his belt. So he has me leaning forward so he's able to squeeze. That's what makes it so uncomfortable. So I need to make sure that I'm going to grab his belt with both hands, right? And then from there, I'll make sure he doesn't follow me. I can separate myself by pushing his body down, by pushing down on his belt. And then that allows me to be able to sit back, right? And be able to get my posture. Oftentimes, your professionals will tell you to look up at the ceiling because sometimes even when you're looking forward, you don't feel like that you're leaning, but you are. And the person can use their legs and they can pull you back forward. And then they can actually take that posture away from you. So by sitting back, leaning back, and looking up, then all of your weight, now is straight up, right? So I'm pushing him down, and I position my elbows right there on the inside of his thighs, right? So it already becomes more comfortable for him than it is for me. I slide that right knee in the tailbone, and I slide my left arm back, and I need to stand that leg up tall, and then I'm going to turn and twist and push down and break that guard across my leg, right? So again, he's squeezing, right? Scissoring. I'm just grabbing. Elbows are in. I get my posture by sitting back. And when I put the knee in the tailbone, I'm going to stand the other leg up, slide my arm back. And at that point, I'm going to use that elbow and that forearm right on the inside of that thigh. It's really tender there. The inner part of your thigh is a very tender space. So when a person starts digging that elbow and that forearm and that leg standing tall and you twist and push, that's what opens the ankles up, opens that guard up. I just force it down, and then I can knee ride pass across it to be able to get out of there. So from my perspective, this works really well because, again, people can effectively use that squeeze. And, again, you see this a lot at the beginner level when you don't have good posture, when they have you pull forward. Once you're able to sit up, then that's going to combat against that. So I don't have to worry about them using that squeeze to make me as uncomfortable because now I'm controlling them by having those hands right there on that belt. My elbows digging in right now is already causing some discomfort for him. Not a lot, right? And then once I slide that knee in and I kind of split, right, by putting that knee in the tailbone, once I go back, I stand that leg up. It's really easy to break that guard, and I just force it down and I pass from there. Very basic guard pass. We call it just basic guard pass number one. The finish is up to you. If you force the leg all the way to the ground, you can knee ride. If the leg doesn't go all the way to the ground, you just put it on your shoulder. And then you can just, flip and pass it that way. Just depends on how much pressure you put when it's going down towards the ground. But this is an effective way to open a guard, an effective way to combat against those people that are squeezing, those ribs. My perspective, it works really well for beginners, intermediate level or even advanced practitioners.
That's nice, man. One thing, Brian is in the back looking like, I am glad that I don't have to be the test dummy this time.
Look at him. Look at him. He's like, man, finally. Because that whole seminar, I was using him. The whole seminar for everything.
Oh, that's why
I was using the whole seminar. And then at the end, I had a Q&A. And that's when this kid asked me this question. And I was able to answer. But you're right. That's exactly what that face is. The face of relief, tired. It's like we wrapping this thing up. It's time to get something to eat. This guy's been beating me up the whole time. So thank the Lord that somebody asked the question that does not involve me.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. Well, that's it for this week of the Winner Circle, man. Everybody, Isaiah, happy Thanksgiving. Everyone watching, happy Thanksgiving,
guys. Thanks for rocking with us. We hope that you guys have a very safe and prosperous Thanksgiving. Just think of 3 things to be grateful for. Gratitude, just gratitude, but at least 3 things to be grateful for, and just focus on that gratitude and that gratefulness throughout the week. Spend some time with family, guys, and just have a safe holiday. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Hey man, you coming to Detroit anytime soon, or you done for the year?
No, I got to come back at the end of the year. I got 4 black belts. I got degree testing, so I have to
Okay.
test 4 of my black belts, 4 or 5 of them for degrees. So I always do my testings in the summer and then in December. So June or July, I'll do 1 set of testing for black belts and then the other one in December. So I always finish the year off in Detroit. So I'll be back.
All right, cool. Well, everyone, stay safe, stay strong. We'll holler at you next week. And I'm going to end our stream. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.